Hi, everyone, and welcome back. It's Wednesday already, and we're already talking about more clouds and the potential for some more showers for the weekend, maybe even a bit before for the latter part of the week. Not real happy about it, but we've got another at least one beautiful day in the forecast, and it's not all that bad, mind you. Your Licking Valley RECC forecast in just a few moments. Tax rates still being discussed, still being set in various parts of the viewing area. We'll talk about that in the Paintsville City Council meeting. Also, several indictments returned by Johnson County Grand Jury. And it's a bit of an oddity. In fact, let's see, we have had the last one in 1982, as for a matter of fact, and the next one won't be until 2033, and it's a culmination of all types of moons, I guess we could say. I'll tell you about the super moon, blood moon combination in just a few moments, and a whole lot of other news and information. Still trying to gather some details, but it has been confirmed through the Department of Transportation that a worker with a Hayden Bridge Company who is based in London, Kentucky, fell some 40 feet off of a bridge while doing work in the area of Minnie in Floyd County. Details are still yet to be released. We know that the accident victim was taken by ambulance to the Pikeville Medical Center. We know that he was conscious and responsive at the time of being transported. His name not released or the extent of his injuries, except to say that he did fall some 40 feet from that bridge while working in that part of Floyd County. We'll try to find out more and have more for you in just a few moments. Indictments released by Johnson County Grand Jury have charged several individuals with several different types of charges, everything from burglary to manufacturing meth to fleeing and evading and more. We'll begin with the indictment, one indictment which actually involves charges levied against 3 individuals. In all, a sitting Johnson County Grand Jury indicted 11 different individuals on 12 indictment charges, including 3 individuals related to the same alleged crimes. 21-year-old Becky Tackett, whose photo from the Big Sandy Jail was not available as of airtime, in addition with 22-year-old Timothy Hall of Paintsville and 20-year-old Tyler Trombley of Oil Springs. Tackett, the before-mentioned female, is also from the Paintsville area. But they're all 3 each indicted on complicity charges of manufacturing and methamphetamine. Court records say that the 3 knowingly and unlawfully manufactured meth and were in the possession of at least 2 of the precursors used to manufacture methamphetamine. And as a result, each face up to 20 years in prison and a fine of no more than $10,000. In a separate indictment against one of those individuals, Tyler Trombley is also indicted on charges of robbery in the first degree, being a persistent felony offender, as well as charges of using force for threatening immediate or physical harm to someone involved in the case in an effort to steal what was said to be $10 in cash from a member of the Flat Gap community, as well as stealing prescription medication. 51-year-old Gary Robbins of Paintsville was indicted on charges of first-degree possession of a controlled substance and possession of drug paraphernalia. He had in his possession, says authorities and the grand jury, a light bulb which had been altered in some form or fashion to use to smoke methamphetamine or some sort of a similar drug. Inside the light bulb was a chemical residue believed to be methamphetamine, as well as other drug paraphernalia. For the first-degree possession charge, he faces up to 3 years in prison, up to a $10,000 fine, and up to a year on the paraphernalia charge. 25-year-old Herbert Blevins, also from the Paintsville area, was indicted on a charge of burglary in the second degree. He reportedly entered a Paintsville apartment in an attempt to commit some sort of a theft. The items taken or alleged to have been taken are not listed in the court records, but we do know that he's facing up to 10 years in prison and a fine of no more than $10,000 if he is found guilty on the burglary in the second-degree charge. The grand jury also charges 22-year-old Devin Baldwin of Hager Hill with a charge of bail jumping in the first degree, now facing an additional 5 years in prison and $10,000 in fines for intentionally failing to appear for hearing. A 33-year-old Scotty Salmons was also indicted on similar charges for a separate incident. 43-year-old Tommy Ryan of Banner was indicted on a charge of flagrant non-support, owing some estimated $6,589, while Christy Wireman, 31, of Hager Hill, was indicted on flagrant non-support for owing nearly $19,000. She faces up to $10,000 in fines and 5 years in prison. 37-year-old Randy Ritz of Hager Hill indicted on a charge of flagrant non-support, arrears in the amount of $2,200. 35-year-old Crystal James of Webbville indicted on charges of assault in the third degree and criminal attempt to escape in the second degree, and being a persistent felony offender for causing fell in physical injury to a Big Sandy jail correction officer during an attempt to escape from custody in the process of her being transported from the jail to the Paul B. Hall Medical Center. She faces up to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine on those charges. I believe that's all the indictments that were recently handed down. Tax rates were discussed in Johnson County, specifically at the Paintsville City Council meeting this week, and I've had a camera there and coverage to follow right after these words.
To get high-speed internet on their state-of-the-art fiber optic network for all of your home and business solutions, or to watch TV without a contract on over 200 digital channels with superb quality, or stay connected with family and friends with 24/7 telephone service you can always depend on, contact Foothills Broadband today. Or just click on their link to the right to find out how they're working to provide the latest in communications at affordable prices with exceptional service at Foothills Broadband.
In every governmental or that type of meeting that we have covered for the entire month of September, the discussion to some degree has centered around setting tax rates, as was the case for the Paintsville City Council.
Setting property tax rates for the current year is an item on the agenda of all local governments, as we've been covering here for the past several days, and the Paintsville City Council took it up this week in their meeting, with Mayor Bob Porter informing the council that there had been a decrease in the value of real estate in Paintsville, albeit a modest one, but still a decrease. He also further recommended afterwards that the council elect to take the state allowed increase of 4% instead of the compensating rate, which was nearly identical to last year's rate.
Next item is set the property tax rate for the current year. Each of you have a sheet in your packet. A worksheet that indicates the present rate is 0.1870. There's been a slight decrease in the value of real estate from $240 million to $239 million. So the compensating rate is 0.1880. State law gives us the ability to go to 1.195, which is a 4% increase. Now I'd like to at least request that we take that 4%. Don't know where that's going to go, but certainly it's to keep up with inflation and so forth. It's expenses continue to rise, and I'd like to request that. Is there any discussion of that particular matter?
Well, we've recently raised taxes.
Well, but I mean, and the tax raise was for a specific purpose to pay off a past, obligation, and it's just for a 2-year period. And I think that part of the problem, or a little bit of the problem, is that we continue to not, everything goes up, every single thing goes up, and if we're not raising our revenue somehow, then in 2 years, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to let the occupational tax go off the books. How long has it been since we have raised the property tax?
We have raised
taken the
4% fairly recently, in the last couple of 3 years. I can't remember. I know last year we left it as is.
After some further discussion, Sean Thompson made a motion to take the 4% allowed by the state. That motion died for lack of a second. Another motion was made to leave the taxing rates as they were at 0.1870. That motion received a second and a unanimous vote.
More headlines in a few moments, but it is quite obvious, at least for now, that there's a whole lot happening because we have a whole lot of information on tonight's community calendar brought to you by McGoffin Farm Bureau.
Beginning with a birthday wish, and it says, "Happy birthday, Odell Patrick." With a lot of love from Regina, Stephen, and the grandkids. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Odell Patrick. The last of the annual Title I parent meetings in McGoffin County are coming up this Friday at the Harold Whitaker Middle School beginning at 9 a.m. and then later in the afternoon at 1:30 at North McGoffin Elementary. All parents are encouraged to attend these annual meetings to find out how your child is doing in school and what your school is doing for your child. Friday at 9 at Harold Whitaker Middle. The Recovery Rock celebration is going to take place this Saturday beginning at 11 at the McGoffin County Health Department, full of food, fun, live music, door prizes, recovery testimonies, and fellowship. The recovery community is inviting you to join them and support them and celebrate recovery. It's an annual event they've been having for years, one that draws a whole lot of folks for a very, very worthwhile reason, and one that is going towards bettering our community and the folks who live here every day. The 32nd annual homecoming and old-fashioned day at the Sayersville Pentecostal Church is this weekend. Saturday at 7, Sunday at 11, special singing Sunday with anointed hearts, and dinner is following Sunday services. Pastor Philip Puckett and everyone at Sayersville Pentecostal Church of Christ invite you to come and join them for homecoming and old-fashioned day. We've got a few events coming up in support of some local families, and one is a benefit bike ride in honor of Luke Lewis and Ivan Howard, with the theme of No One Fights Alone. They're going to take a motorcycle ride, leave the Ramey Park on this coming Saturday, and they're going to ride to the gorge and back. They'll have food and refreshments, and it's just $20 to register per motorcycle. The donation gets you in on door prizes, and if you'd like to donate, you can still get in on winning door prizes and help support these two men and their families. All donations appreciated. A benefit ride, I have just been told, has been put together in support of and in honor of the late Edgar Gamble and his family. It is this Saturday. They're going to leave from the Middle Fork Elementary School. Now, of course, the Lakefront Church of God. It's just $20 per ATV or whatever you're riding per machine. And if you would like to go or find out more about how you can help support this benefit ride, call 349-8918. And the North McGoffin Volunteer Fire Department's got their annual hog roast, soup bean dinner, and auction coming up this Saturday over at the top of Improvement there in Rock House Hill beside the Rock House Liberty Baptist Church. Starts at noon with dinner, and auction starts at 2. And they've got more auction items than I can go through. Black Powder Express will be performing starting at noon. So come out, bring a lawn chair, bring yourself, bring the family, and support our local North McGoffin Volunteer Fire Department. I've also just found out about a free hunter's education class. It says they just sent me notices for this is a class for 9 years of age and older. It's Thursday and Friday, 6 to 9. They'll start Saturday morning at 9 until they get done. This is to get your hunter's orange card, and you must attend all 3 classes to get it. If you have any questions, call John or Shauna Sharp at 349-1558 or call 349-7130 to contact Wendell Hoskins. And I'm not sure if I got those numbers correct, but those numbers go to those folks. With all of that said, if you've got a birthday, an anniversary, or calendar announcement, I'll try not to mess it up. Just send it to me. You can mail, phone, fax, email, Facebook it, or drop it off here at the studio. And remember, you can always catch the show the following morning or afternoon sometimes on yournewstoday.com in case you missed it the first time or would like to see it again. Turning to funeral service announcements for much of the viewing area. In Sayersville, 62-year-old Dason Watson of Sayersville passed away on Saturday. In Hazard, he's left to mourn by daughters Dawn Watson, Teresa Watson, and Nicole Clemens. A memorial service for Dason Watson is going to be held this Thursday at 1 o'clock from the chapel at the Sayersville Funeral Home. The family will welcome friends for visitation earlier that morning at 11, also at the Sayersville Funeral Home. Contributions can be made to the Dason Watson Memorial Fund there at the funeral home. And 76-year-old Emmett Ray Borders of Cold Branch Road passed away on the 22nd, preceded in death by his wife Shelby Jean Wireman Borders. He's survived by brother Urshel and sister Easter Blair. Visitation will be tomorrow evening after 6, prior to services, which are going to start Friday morning at 11, all of which from the McGoffin County Funeral Home Chapel. We now know more about the services which have been set in honor of 73-year-old Sam Stone of Knoxville, but of course, formerly and mostly of McGoffin County. He was married to Sharon K. Conley Stone, who survives, as well as a daughter that survives, Robin Lee Webb. Visitation is this evening, all day tomorrow, and then prior to services. They've been set for this Friday at 2 o'clock, and all of which will take place at the McGoffin County Funeral Home. Burial will follow services at the Highland Memorial Park at Staffordsville in honor of 73-year-old Sam Stone. And from the Paintsville area, we have a listing of services for Elizabeth Louise Sparks Howard Windland, 60, of Pembroke, Virginia, who passed away on September the 22nd. She was married to David Windland, who survives, also surviving our daughters Ruby Clark, Belinda Collins, and Mary Dennison. Visitation is going to be tomorrow after 6, 11 till 9 on Friday, and prior to services, which have been set for Saturday morning at 10, visitation and services from the Hager Hill Free Will Baptist Church.
Of course, before we talk about your weather, and both of which we hope to talk about soon, one of which I hope to actually get to see, you can catch it live, and if you don't, you won't be able to see one again for, well, until 2033. And the other story we want to mention, as I still have a call out hoping to get maybe someone to talk to us about it, McGoffin County native, where she and her family, who are now living in Texas, but have found themselves in the very center of the University of Kentucky Wildcat spotlight.
For the first time in more than 3 decades, you're going to be able to witness, weather permitting, that's always the hinge, isn't it, a supermoon in combination with a lunar eclipse. We're going to call it a supermoon eclipse. It's late this Sunday. In pretty much most of the United States, much of the world, a total lunar eclipse is going to mask the moon's larger-than-life face. In the event of clouds, you'll be able to watch on NASA's live stream from 8 until 11:30 that night, broadcast from the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Throughout human history, lunar eclipses have been viewed with awe and sometimes fear. Today, we know that a total lunar eclipse happens when the full moon passes through the darkest part of the Earth's shadow, the umbra. Well, Sunday's supermoon eclipse will last 1 hour and 11 minutes, and it will be visible to North and South America, Europe, Africa, parts of the Western Asia, Eastern Pacific, and others. Weather permitting, you can see the supermoon after nightfall, and the eclipse will cast its shadow beginning at 8:11 p.m. The total eclipse starts at 10:11 and will peak at 10:47. The moon, of course, doesn't make its own light. It reflects the light it receives from the sun. During a lunar eclipse, the moon appears less and less bright as the sunlight continually is blocked by the Earth's shadow, and in totality, sunlight reaches the moon indirectly as it's refracted around the edges of the Earth through the Earth's atmosphere. And because of that, all the colors except red are filtered out, and the eclipsed moon appears reddish or darkish brown. This eerie but harmless effect has earned the phenomenon the nickname, at least, blood moon. So we all know what a full moon is. When you have a full moon on the closest approach to the Earth, well, that's called a supermoon. It looks 14% larger. Same size, just looks 14% larger. And this will be combining that with a lunar eclipse when the moon is directly, not partially, but directly behind the Earth, giving it that shadow or red tint. 1910, the last time in the 1900s, 1928, 1946, 1964, 1982 was the last one, and if you missed this one, you won't get a chance again until 2033. I think by now word has made its way around social media and elsewhere, certainly here in McGoffin County and all across the state and elsewhere, about Seth Barnett, the young man who's having, I'm sure, the time of his life there, seen in the middle of the picture between, of course, Coach Cal, and who also happens to be to the right of your screen, the number one point guard in the country, who Calipari was going to Texas recently to visit and talk about, maybe playing a little ball for the Cats. Well, as I understand it, Seth's mother, Betty Carol Howard Barnett, realized that someone was coming down because Seth and De'Aaron Fox, again, the number one point guard in the country, well, they're in the same class. Seth is a 16-year-old junior at Cypress Lakes High School, and when Betty Carol heard, Betty Carol from McGoffin County, as well as her husband who grew up here as well, Michael Scott Barnett, heard that someone, not knowing who, I think, was coming down from UK to talk to De'Aaron. Well, she thought maybe she would get a photograph, and Seth's a huge fan. Understandably so, right? Aren't we all? Well, it turned out to be a little more than that. De'Aaron asked him over to his house, and then Coach Cal showed up. He had a little company with him, and he immediately struck up a conversation with Seth, and it was all over from there. Coach Cal, as I understand it, was quite taken back by Seth and his mother and family. I think there were some autographs. I think there were some tickets talked about as well. And it has made, I'm sure, for the Barnetts just an amazing story to tell when they're going to get a live-in for quite some time. And it's made its way around social media and around, I think, households in McGoffin County. And I did get just a message in via Facebook, of course, to Betty Carroll a short time ago when she was traveling. And we're going to get a talk maybe about the experience, and I'll get to have at least maybe a phone interview with her soon. But what an evening that turned out to be for a lot of UK fans, and through the graciousness of De'Aaron and his family, and of course Coach Cal, they made it an awesome experience for Seth, and I'm sure the rest of his family too. I'm actually seeing a message right now that I just got back from Betty Carroll, so hopefully we'll be able to maybe make contact with her and have that in one of the many reports that we'll have, of course, on tomorrow's show. I got to wrap up tonight's, though, with your Licking Valley RECC forecast, where I'm not real. I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's not a terrible thing. It's just not, not as great as what it could be for your weekend forecast. We'll start off tonight where we did see about 82 degrees here in the studio. Well, at the studio, outside, obviously. Had the AC on the inside. But a low of 57 is expected tonight, mostly clear skies. And look for some more of that patchy, pesky fog after 5 o'clock in the morning. That'll linger, but not quite so late tomorrow. I think up until about 7 or 8, maybe at the latest. Otherwise, your Thursday looks to be just sunny and gorgeous, and temperatures once again in the low 80s. Once again, partly cloudy skies late, but just a really nice Thursday. Friday's forecast has changed. Clouds are getting closer quicker than what we had hoped for. So tomorrow's the last day of full-blown sunshine we might see for a few days. Friday, cooler air that system gives us clouds, also gives us a 40% chance of some showers, and 73 degrees for daytime highs. So more clouds than sun, I do believe, and a better chance of some showers. Actually, Friday is the best chance we have for showers in the entire forecast period. Friday night lows 58 degrees. Saturday, the coolest air I have in the forecast period, it's 71. Still cloudy skies, and still, well, I have to take my words back. Saturday is the best now chance of showers that we have, up to 50% on your Saturday, and we still have cloudy skies, and we still have temperatures once again in the low 70s. Nighttime lows not really changing at all. Still upper 50s, low 60s. Sunday, ditto, mostly cloudy, mid-70s, lows 60 degrees or right around there, and a 30% chance of showers. We'll start off Monday of next week with mostly cloudy skies again. Temperatures right around 77, a 20% threat of some showers. Don't have any sunshine again after tomorrow until Tuesday of next week in the forecast. So there you have it. Like I said, could be better, could be worse.
This Wednesday's show. Tomorrow is a new day, and of course, new news you'll only see with me. We hope you have a good night, and we hope to see you then. Thank you for watching.